Hi, this is Ninja2Dan, and this is going to be one of the first guides for the game 762 High Caliber. In the previous game, I went ahead and explained some of the basic game information, unofficial patch, what BSM or Blue Sun mod is, as well as generating your character, choosing some of your stats. And for the first one, the first thing that you're going to want to do is to get your first team member and get some of your equipment back. When you first start off, you're going to be in a little sector here, and if you go over to Santa Maria, it's not really explained too well in the game itself, its guide or anything, but this is definitely the first step that you're going to want to do. When you enter into a sector, you will see these different green boxes. Those are the spawn points that you can go to. You can split up your team members to go to multiple spawn points, but at this time, since it's only us, I can't really show you that. You just want to go to the default one, which is starting next to the bar. From the map itself, you're able to highlight certain buildings, which will show what their titles are. So as you can see here, we have the bar. We're going to be spawning right next to it. Once you start in, you just need to run over to the bar itself. When you run in, you're going to see a character named Wino. And when you talk to him, you find out his name is Paquito. I'm not going to really explain all of the text. You're free to read it or do it yourself. But you want to talk to him so that you can go get his baby. This will probably be one of the few very limited walkthroughs that I'll be doing for specific quests. Personally, I'm not a fan of doing that because I rather people do it themselves. It makes it a little bit funner when you're able to go through and read dialogue on your own. But once you've spoken to that first character, you get his wine bottle that he wanted. And in doing so, he will join your team. He is one of the few characters of this game that you do not have to pay a salary for. He'll stay with you until you tell him to leave. Once you have him on your team, he tells you that he had your luggage with your equipment, but he lost it. At that point, you need to go find it. He also says that he has a car, which he'll give you the keys for you to drive. This is also the introduction to having your first vehicle. So now you have an engine vehicle to start off with. This would probably also be a good time to cover some of the game settings, the controls, and how to save. If you press escape and you go into settings, you have several different options. Obviously, graphics, sound, those are fairly obvious. When you go into the game portion of it, you will have your difficulty settings. You can set these before you create a new game, and it pretty much is going to be how difficult or easy the game is. You're free to read through the descriptions of each one and choose if that's something you want to try or not. For this one, I just have it set up as the default easy mode stuff. But the important one is going to be for events. The game 762 High Caliber is really cool in my opinion because it adds a feature that is called SPM, or Smart Pause Mode. What that means is in your events settings, you're able to check something to be either active or deactive. The white box means that it's turned on, black means turned off. And if you look here for pause, what this means is any of these events happening, the game will pause. This will allow you the opportunity to go in, issue new orders, or at least make sure that you're aware of certain things happening. The AI for your characters is almost non-existent. There is no way to put them on a guard mode and engage targets that come into a sector or line of vision. They will only fire or move or do anything if you specifically tell them to do so. So you want to be able to pause the game anytime anything important happens, so that you're able to choose one of your characters and tell them what to do. So you can choose to turn on or turn off pausing. Shortcuts mean that in the upper corner of your screen you'll see a little box that allows you to click it, and then you have a shortcut to zoom to that specific spot. Same with the camera. Time deceleration means that when certain events are happening, such as when weapons are being fired, grenades are exploding, anything that is something you might want to pay extra attention to, it will decelerate time. It's going to be similar to bullet time from Max Payne and other games. So you want to go through, and you're free to change these at any time, so you can experiment. The other important thing is going to be your controls. Unlike some of the other games out there, such as Jaggerline's Back in Action, which has very limited controls that you cannot define yourself, this game allows you to go through and actually define all of the controls that you might have. A lot of the biggies are going to be things such as the camera movement, which is defaulted. So right now it's up, down, left, right are going to be to move your camera up, down, left, and right. The controls are something that you're going to probably want to go in, play around with it, and get a feeling for it, see what is and isn't convenient. A lot of these controls you don't have to use hotkeys because they're very easy to just click a button. Some of the important ones are going to be J for your logbook, which is going to be like missions, checking out other inventories, I for your inventory, M for your map. But you're free to go through and change that as you choose. And as far as saving goes, there's two save methods. You have what I would consider a hard save, where you go to save. You're free to type in any name that you want. And then either press enter or hit OK, or you can use the default name. And then by doing that, you will now have a hard save. The other option is quick saves. F5 will initiate the quick save. F9 will load from the quick save. Quick saving is something that I personally use quite often. The reason is because even with Raz's excellent patch fixes and features that he's included in his mod, the core game by itself, it has been known to be very buggy. You can get a lot of glitches, you'll have a lot of game crashes. I wouldn't say a lot as in it happens all the time, but Murphy's Law, it does happen when you least want it to. By saving more frequently, you have that extra backup to be able to go back and avoid some of the pain of having to repeat large sections of a mission, or having to load the game where an enemy that was difficult to kill is now still alive, and you have to do the whole killing thing again. Again, M is to open your map, and you'll see the different cities that are there. As far as travel goes, you are able to change your speed as well as time acceleration. Your speed that you travel is going to determine not only how fast you move on the map, but as you can see, there are two rings around your vehicle. One is blue, one is red. The blue ring is going to be your visibility. So as you slow down and speed up, that is going to change how well you can see, but also it's going to change the noise level that you make. The greater your visibility range, the more you're able to see other units that might be on the map, some of which may be hostile to you or you might have an interest in attacking. The more noise you make means the more likely are that they are to notice you. From what I have found is also the faster you're traveling, the more likely you are to have random encounters in the sectors that allow it. Also, if you look at the route that you're taking to a city, the fastest method when your speed is set too high. So this way it's going to want to take the roads. As you change your speed though, it's going to look for more direct routes to your location. So you can see that by changing speeds, you're going to take less direct routes. If you are trying to avoid people, taking a less direct route is going to have a better chance of avoiding them, but again, it does take a lot more time. Time acceleration is just that. As you can see, we're moving quickly. If you're on foot, it takes a very long time to get from one point to another, so you might want to increase time. Another thing is when you're on the game map itself, as you can see right now, it is night. It is 2 o'clock in the morning. If you would rather have it daytime, because maybe you would rather encounter enemies in daylight, when you unpause the game, you can speed up time to make it travel faster. And again, once you go into an area, you're going to see the different green boxes, which will show you where you're able to spawn in at. If you want to, you can split your people between the different spawn points. But we'll get back to the mission at hand for the first one. So again, we're supposed to talk down a hooker in Puerto Viejo. When you look at the minimap here, you will see a lot of blue dots. These are NPCs that you are able to interact with directly. These are usually your named NPCs. By clicking and holding the left mouse button, you're able to move the map around. And if you hold the mouse over one of those blue dots, it will pop up with their name. At this time, since we have not spoken to any of these characters, their actual name is not known, so it will just show what their title is. If you hit the K key, which is default, to expand that, it will show you a much larger map. The only problem I have with the larger map is that by holding the mouse button over the dots or buildings, you're not able to see names. And just to cover some of the default keys, again, left, right, up, down will move your camera along its horizontal axis. The scroll wheel up and down will zoom in and out, and by holding down the right mouse button, you're able to rotate the camera around. You're able to combine that, so if you're holding down right mouse button, you can rotate it while you're moving the camera. Makes it a lot easier than having to hit like a Alt key, Shift Alt Tab combo. Also, as you have your mercenaries, they're leveled on the side in their order. So 1 at the bottom, 6 will be at the very top. Pressing the number keys 1, 2, and so on will select individual mercenaries. If you press the 0 key, it will select all of them. Again, all of those shortcuts are going to be defined into your control settings. Spacebar will pause and unpause the game. Some of the basics, you will have your character's main portion here. The body will show any portions that are injured by showing a red section. This is showing your heartbeat and rhythm. If you become excited, your adrenaline level will increase, making a more rapid heartbeat. These are some of your basic stats. The blue bar is going to be your energy bar, so as you sprint or have to run with a heavier load, that will drop down. Your health bar is on the right side with the red color, so as you're injured, that will drop down. The very left, this is going to be your camouflage and visibility. If you're in daylight, it's going to be up higher. As you get into the shadows or darkness, it will go lower. That is the ease of the enemy being able to see your characters. So we're trying to find out and again pressing J will open your logbook. This is where you're able to view your missions, current, completed, and failed, along with a unit information. These are anybody that are currently in your unit or in your team. You're able to get the report of their stats. This one has a problem because he is not part of that system. He is an extra character that's been added on. You can also talk to those characters. This is where you would tell them if you want them to wait in the sector, if you want to get rid of them, or if they're hired, that is where you will pay them. Mercenaries, if you do encounter any other mercenaries out there, but they're not currently in your unit, such as you've spoken to them but didn't really want to hire them at the time, or if you've fired them, they will appear on this list. Population, as you meet different characters throughout the game, different NPCs that are important characters, not just vocals, they will show up on this list. And locations, anytime you visit a new city or sector, it will show you that information here as well. As you gain more information, it will continue to add to it. So again, from here we have talked to them, and now we have to go to a different city. Personally, I think this is a fairly interesting little quest because it gives you an introduction to some of the starter towns. While it tells you characters' names, again, a lot of the characters, you will not have their names until you have spoken to them. Because I've played the game quite a bit, I have remembered where some of these characters are at. So over here, we're trying to speak with the person. And you can see now it's saying it's probably in another town. So again, now we go to a different city. Thing is, it doesn't tell you where it's at. If you had read part of the description, it might have explained more, but I didn't really read it around this time. Basically, you find out that Paquito's cousin happens to be one of the police sergeants. You initially start talking to him because you want to find your luggage. So by speaking to him, you now have your equipment. You start off with one of your initial rucksacks, which I will be explaining later. And as you can see, we have a rifle, a lot of cash, a cleaning kit, basic first aid kit, a compact camo, and some ammunition for the rifle. This is a unique item. This is a police badge because you're accepting missions for that character, he's given you a police badge to authorize you now to act on behalf of the police department. This badge does come with certain benefits. That being, you have a police trader in this town only, back here behind the police station. So if you go to speak with him, you can show him your badge and he'll give you access to some of the better equipment. I'll be covering things such as merchants, weapons, equipment, all of that in a different section. But for starters, the amount of cash that you have will be displayed on the bottom of your trade screen. Anything you cannot afford will be shown in red. And you do have your different tabs for equipment. As you can see, we're starting off with a varmint rifle for the most part. The wad of cash that he gave us, though, is a real biggie because it is worth a lot of money. As you can see here, we can trade it to him for 50,000. So by doing that, we have now earned ourselves the ability to purchase a lot more equipment when we're starting off. One thing to note, though, is that these choices between showing them the standard inventory as compared to advanced inventories on merchants, the advanced inventory is not always going to show the basic inventory plus extras. It's actually a different pile of stuff, basically. So here, for example, you can see that we have a vest, while the more advanced feature did not. But that's the introduction to this, to where you are now able to get some of your starter cash, which will allow you to go out and purchase your starting equipment. If you choose to hire some mercenaries, the sooner that you hire them, the sooner you'll be able to start leveling them up and getting their skills trained up. If you start hiring them later on in the game, that means that your character is going to be a lot higher stats. The enemy is going to have a lot higher stats, but the character you have just hired is going to be fairly lower on stat levels. So personally, my opinion is hire somebody that you like, find somebody you really like early on, and then stick with them throughout. That way you're able to level them up more consistently. So that's going to be the finishing portion of the initial walkthrough. Again, as you look in your logbook and you're able to look up your stats, again, now that Paquito is part of our team, you'll see contract information. If it's somebody that you have hired, you're hiring them either for 1 day, 1 week, or 1 month. You'll see how many hours are left. When that reaches 0, they will either leave unless you pay them again. You do get a bit of a warning. I think it's 24 hours in advance. So 24 hours before they leave, they will tell you that their contract is running out. If you want them to stay, you'll have to pay them again. If you do not pay them and the time reaches 0, they just simply leave your party. This also will show their kills. Again, how many kills the individual person gets is what will count towards them leveling up. And then points is how many attributes that they have. So if you click on check mercs, this is where you would be able to look at their stats and then assign them points if they have them. And through here you can also talk to them, but it doesn't generally work. If you want to speak to somebody, the best way is to hit J, go to your unit, choose that character, and then hit talk. So that would be it. I'll go ahead and get ready for some of the next levels, which are going to be including vehicles, missions, merchants, bartenders, and your one of your other first missions.